Alright, we are back! So, I don't know if my assumption that the rest of this a long trial is correct, or if this is just like part 2 of the case and we still investigate. I assumed that this was just going to be all trial, and that's why there were so many plot twists just the other day for part 5, or part 4.
Yeah.
So, trial part 1.
I'm still confused. I'm not really sure Gregson is as bad as we think he is.
I mean, I don't... It just seems weird that he plotted this.
Right, but he still had, Asa Shanna on his list, and she is dead, and he should know that if he was the Reaper, even though somebody outside killed her. But, like, him and Von Zieks kind of came to the same conclusion about who's doing this, so I'm starting to wonder if somebody framed or killed him both because they knew that they were getting close, because I don't think the gun at the scene that's with him is his. I think it's Strongheart's, and he told Gory to falsify that autopsy. So something more is going on than just like...
Well, I was looking at people's theories who didn't beat the game as of when they wrote these theories down, and somebody's like, I feel like, and this was like maybe the beginning of the second game or something, and he's like, I feel like Strongheart is the big bad, but I feel like that's too obvious, so maybe he's a red herring. I wouldn't mind if he was, because I want to like him, because he seems noble, and he's let us do whatever we wanted, and he talked for a long time, and then we dozed off when he described those 29 steps or whatever the heck that was. So I would like him not to be bad, but it's like everybody got something to hide. Final chapter, it says. The resolve of Reinosuke Naruhodo. Alright.
November, the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber.
Alright. Let's do this like Brutus. So, the time's finally come. Today, we unravel everything. Has she made this face yet?
No, she looks distressed.
She looks distressed and worn out.
I'll be counting on your support more than ever today, Miss Susato.
Oh dear. Miss Susato? Ah. What? Come on! Oh no, what's the matter, Mr. Naruhodo? Nothing. I was just saying that I'll be relying on your support today, but I'm so sorry. Of course, I know I can be rather incompetent at times, but I shan't let you down. Would you mind helping me to my feet, then? Oh dear, I'm really very sorry. You know, she owes Reinosuke. He's never laid a hand on her, but man, she just tossed him around. Susato-san isn't her usual self at all, but that's hardly surprising, I suppose. And that's interesting, too, because she seemed happy when she let her father go and said, oh man, you doing adventures with the great Herlock Sholmes, more than I could ask for, but there's still something that...
Yeah, because, like, she even said, well, so then are you Iris's dad? But I don't think he is, but he never gave her the explanation about why.
Yeah. So there's still a lot that she either is upset about or she doesn't believe. She just found out that her father is the partner of a world-famous detective, not to mention... Ah, good morning, sir. Lord Van Zieks. Thank you for all your efforts yesterday. What? Did I just hear that correctly? What? Oh, no, nothing. Just, I hope we can clear things up today. I really can't make this man out. His face says I hate you, but his words are almost jovial today. It's funny reading that and looking at his face. I'm sorry, he's just got that face, that resting face. In fact, he hasn't been very Reaper-like at all since this all began yesterday. Lord Van Zieks isn't the Reaper, Mr. Naruhodo, and here she is, reading his mind. Good point. The Reaper, I suppose in hindsight I shouldn't have allowed that misconception to go unchallenged. Huh? It was my tacit acceptance of that pseudonym. My failure to stop the Reaper becoming something more than a mere legend that led to all this. But you're not to blame for that, Lord Van Zieks. It's only because serious crime in the capital dropped off so sharply when the public started calling you that. That's why you didn't say anything, isn't it? To be frank, I'm not sure that was the sole reason. What do you mean? There was a rumor at the time that the Reaper was really the ghost of my late brother. That having been slain by that evil killer, Clint's restless spirit returned as some sort of demigod, to wield a deadly blade of justice where I, by dint of the law, could not. Yes, we've heard that story too. When I lost him, I felt as though I'd lost my guiding light. I didn't know where to go or what to do. Isn't this the big painting at the back of the prosecutor's office?
Maybe.
And so, in some small way, I wonder if perhaps those rumors made me feel his absence a little less keenly. Even if I knew it was an illusion, just some nonsense conjured up by an over-imaginative public. He was obviously extremely important to you, Lord Clint Van Zieks. Well, what's important now is uncovering the truth. That's all that matters. I know that you didn't take anyone's life, and I intend to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt in court today. I never thought I'd say this, but I can see it in your eyes, that burning desire to cut through all the lies and deception. I can't deny it any longer. You are a lawyer of absolute integrity. Thank you. Now tell me, oh my god, what's he gonna say to ruin this? Why do I detect the scent of expensive tea leaves in the air?
Because Iris is there?
Yeah! Oh, Iris, when did you get here? Oh. I brought you one of my special blends. Hurley loves it. He says it helps him to clear his head. I thank you. Oh, hee. That's surely the first and last time I'll ever see a sight like this.
She got a crush on him?
Yeah, probably a young girl having a crush on some young man, but older than her, handsome, and all that. You seem different today, Iris. Oh. Sort of subdued, I suppose. I am not. What happened yesterday is obviously still playing on her mind a lot. She's clearly really very troubled about having stolen that autopsy report from Dr. Sight's laboratory. Alright then, good luck to you both. I have to make a move now. Oh, you're not staying? I thought you'd want to watch today's proceedings. Well, I'd like to cheer you on, obviously. But I've got lots to get ready. Get ready for what? Oh, yes. Would you take this? Isn't that one of the little felt dolls that's usually dangling from your knapsack? Yes, it's a lucky charm. A little Hurley that I made once. A Hurley? That looks more like a Harley to me. If for some reason you completely run out of options in the trial today, you just pull this little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can. Wow, pull his ears. That's right. It's a way to bring good luck. I think you might need it. Okay. There's very likely going to be a time where we're running out of options, I feel. You think what we'll need is luck? Just sneaked a peek inside the courtroom, and it seemed very different to normal. Yes, it would seem that a certain someone has decided to pull out all the stops. What does that mean? What about Mr. Sholmes, Iris? I don't know. He was out all night and he hadn't come home by the time I left this morning. Oh, I see. Was Professor Mikotoba out all night too, do you think, Mr. Sato? Yes, it would seem so. I telegrammed the hotel this morning. And apparently they didn't come back to their rooms last night at all. They? Father and Judge Jigoku, I mean. Judge Jigoku, too. That's right, nobody appears to have seen either of them since yesterday. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Please make your way inside the courtroom at once. Good luck then, Runo. Good luck, Susie. Yes, thanks, Iris. And you, Mr. Reaper, I hope it goes well. Once again, I thank you for the delicious tea. It was very soothing. Oh, I'm so glad. We must go inside now, Lord Van Zieks. Lord Van Zieks has always been the formidable prosecutor I've had to lock horns with in court. But not today. Today I battle in pursuit of the truth. My best friend, Kazuma Asogi, who I trust more than anyone else in the world. Now I understand what it was that drew me here to Britain all those months ago. Now I know exactly what destiny had in store for me. It's all been leading up to this one day, to this one trial, to this one final reckoning. See, doesn't it seem like this whole thing's gonna be the trial? Is there nobody in there?
Remember, it's closed proceedings with people in the gallery.
No, but I didn't see the judge.
Oh.
Feels more oppressive here than it did yesterday. And it's more silent. There are cold stares piercing me like knives from all sides today. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, look! Lord Strongheart! Kazuma must have known beforehand. The ramifications of this trial now extend far beyond the murder of one Scotland Yard inspector. In fact, events have come to light that threaten to rock the very foundations of our country's legal system. The escape of a condemned criminal on the night of his execution, the subsequent unlawful shooting of the man, and the revelation that prison staff must have been complicit in the jailbreak. Britain is currently hosting influential members of the judiciary from countries all around the world. It is imperative that we uncover the truth in these proceedings to avoid international embarrassment. By royal decree, this will continue to be a closed trial, and one over which I, Male Strongheart, exercise total and unequivocal authority. The 6 jurors' flames just... As was the case in yesterday's proceedings, those here present in the public gallery are distinguished members of our judiciary, assembled to bear witness to a fair judicial process. In other words, a collection of your acolytes, Lord Strongheart. On a personal note, I find this most distressing, Lord Van Zieks. You are a prosecutor of exceptional talent. Much like your brother Clint, in fact. Yeah, I think that is. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. Man, you know stuff's gonna go down when he's the guy now instead of the regular judge. And the regular judge is actually a pretty good judge for the trial of Baroque Van Zieks, who officially stands accused of murder. Counsels for the prosecution and defense, are you in full readiness to proceed? The defense is ready, my lord. As is the prosecution. Yesterday's proceedings brought to light a shocking and disturbing fact. There was a side to the victim, Inspector Tobias Gregson, that was unknown to his superiors at Scotland Yard. Yet he was carrying out operations in secret which Scotland Yard knew nothing about. And in those clandestine operations he had an accomplice, Mr. Daily Vigil, who would be given the inspector's identification, and present himself around the capital in order to establish credible alibis for Gregson. In that way, Gregson appeared to be carrying out his regular Scotland Yard work when in fact he wasn't. At the end of yesterday's session, Mr. Vigil, who had been suffering from amnesia, regained his memory. It would appear he buried his memories of the time deep inside himself as a means of self-preservation. But whilst he was engaged as chief warder at Barclay Prison, he abetted the convicts' escape. Mr. Vigil is currently recuperating at St. Sinner's. He's recovered enough to give a signed statement about his movements on the day prior to the incident. He's formally admitted to posing as Gregson whilst investigating the Red-Headed League. Which brings us to the crucial issue of the victim's time of death. The defense yesterday proposed a suggestion that the victim may have been killed one day earlier. This was based largely on the discovery that the victim's pocket watch had not been wound. The prosecution has something to report on that subject, my lord. Really, go ahead, Prosecutor Asogi. I met once again with the coroner yesterday to discuss the issue. She confirmed that the defense's suggestion could not be ruled out. It's entirely possible that Inspector Gregson was killed on October 31st, the day before his body was discovered. I have here an updated autopsy report that includes the amended details. But the official opinion of the investigation team was made clear yesterday that the time of death was 5 p.m. on the 1st of November. There are indications of an attempt to disguise the real time of death, however. It seems that the natural decaying process of the victim's body may have been slowed by keeping it chilled. That's out of the question. There are no refrigeration devices in that part of London large enough to accommodate a human corpse. My lord, this is more than just conjecture. There's evidence to support the idea. We must investigate it thoroughly. Very well. The court will accept the new report as evidence. However, if this updated report is deemed to be accurate, it would give renewed significance to the movements of the victim on the day before the Fresno Street incident. It would, yes. Especially on that day. Inspector Gregson was using Mr. Vigil to cover up his real movements. It's conceivable that he was killed in the course of his secret activities. Do I sense that the prosecution has some information regarding those activities? Scotland Yard put an enormous effort into investigating that precise matter yesterday. I think we should begin by presenting the results of that investigation work. So the prosecution calls its first witness now. State your name and occupation for the court. Inspector Gina Lestrade reporting. Representative o' Scotland Yard. A self-conferred rank, but never mind. Gina, again. What's your problem, Odo? What's with that Gina again look, eh? The boss meant the world to me. He done more for me than anyone else ever did. Oh, Inspector Gregson, you mean? He got me out the back slums of the East End and took me under his wing. Taught me that life can have a purpose. So that's why I'm the best person to be standing here speaking for him. Oh, Gina. Right, all out of the goodness of Gregson's heart. Not at all that he had his arm twisted by Mr. Sholmes, no. What's relevant to these proceedings is that the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations yesterday has revealed that the victim was carrying out some assignment the police knew nothing about. Very troubling. That face, Lord Strongheart knew. So, Inspector Lestrade, let's hear exactly what it says in that report. Coming right up, sir. All Yard detectives are supposed to follow orders and investigate what they're told. But a little search of the boss's office turned up a notebook that had a load of secret meetings in it. According to that, the boss was looking into some smuggled goods dealings that day. Looks like it was a big job and all, but the coppers weren't onto it yet. What matters most is there's witnesses what saw the Reaper at the place too. Smuggled goods? I don't know, do I? I'm just telling you what was written in the book. Tobacco, tea, spices, medicines, goods of all sorts flow into London by illegal channels from across the globe. It's well known that they're disposed of at regular black markets that take place in the capital. But the police are rarely able to locate them in time, so Inspector Gregson was investigating one of those black markets. It's been suggested that high-ranking government officials may be involved in black market activity, No doubt Gregson was trying to avoid details of his investigations being leaked to the involved parties. That would explain why he was operating on his own authority without the Yard's knowledge. And do we know where the dealings were taking place this time? In a particular room of a certain exclusive London gentleman's club, and on the day in question, the accused is known to have been there. That's the conclusion of Scotland Yard's investigation into the matter. That can't be. We haven't heard anything about any of this. Members of the club have testified to it, there's no question. The accused, Baroque Van Zieks, was present. That would be very significant testimony then. Oh my, but Lord Van Zieks made no mention of this, at all. In short, Lord Van Zieks had ample opportunity to murder the victim. Well, very well then, counsel for the defense, begin your cross-examination. That thing makes a crazy noise with the horn. All your detectives must follow or investigate what they're told. So, you follow orders, do you, Gina? Nah, not me. I'm above all that, see? Oh. The boss always had special orders for me. Grab us some fish and chips, or go and give Toby his grub, that kind of thing. So, errands more than orders, then. This detective is still an apprentice, after all. Yeah, well, this apprentice ain't one to sit around and wait to be told what to do, even by the boss. That's why I've been doing my own investigations to what happened. I didn't find much at first. But a little search at the boss's dumper turned out a load of secret meetings in it. So you went through Inspector Gregson's things. Yep, as part of the independent Lestrade investigation. I'm sure your superiors would be delighted that you're taking the initiative. So I snuck into his office when no one else was about. Because if anyone at the Yard had seen me going in there, they'd have turfed me straight out on the street. This is sounding less and less like an investigation and more like something else. The prosecution understands that it was this very detective who discovered the notebook. You got that right. Nothing gets past Inspector Lestrade and her trusty assistant, Chief Inspector Toby. We found it hidden in one of his desk drawers that had a false bottom. That's impressive. So then I went to hide myself where no one could find me so I could have a butcher's at what was written in it. Because if anyone at the Yard had found me out, they'd have turfed me straight out on the street. Ha. I've given it in now, though, ain't I? And if it weren't for me, it would never have been found. According to that, boss looks at some fucking good dealings. Do you have any idea where those dealings were taking place? Yep. It was all there in the boss's notes. Let's see if I can remember. As I already said, the illegal dealings were due to take place at a gentleman's club. Yes, I remember, but I was hoping to find out the name of the club. That won't be necessary. What? It's conceivable that the club might be used again by the smugglers in future. Therefore, the prosecution has been asked not to reveal the name in these proceedings. I don't know what all the fuss is about. It's right here. All I've got to do is read it out. And I could, too. I've got this reading game buttoned up now. Can't I show you what I can do? Go on, what's the arm? The judge hasn't signaled his objection yet. I could try to find out. What should I do? What do you think? Let's insist. This is a closed court. The proceedings are confidential. There shouldn't be any possibility of the information being leaked. As I explained, there is some possibility of politicians being involved in this affair. The prosecution is rightfully exercising caution, I imagine. Lord, the prosecution has no objection. Kazuma was looking into these black market dealings. However, it's not yet been established that he was on that particular trail on the day in question. If the defense requires to know the club's name, the prosecution has no intention of being obstructive. Right then. I get to show off me reading skills. Apparently something good was going to happen at a gentleman's club called the Grouse.
Hold it! Hold it!
The Grouse? What sort of club is that? I ain't got the foggiest. Clubs ain't exactly my thing. But I am kind of curious. They're not places where a foreign student like you would be readily admitted. Have you looked in the mirror recently? I tell you what, me and Chief Inspector Toby could go in undercover. Could you, though? I could pick out a few good marks and see what else I could find out while I was in there. I really don't think you should go picking out anything. Anyway, that's where those black market dealings were going to take place, is it? Yeah, it's gotta be. That's what the lower-ranking detectives at the yard reckon, says the even lower-ranking detective. Looks like it was a big job and all. Coppers weren't on it yet. So how had Inspector Gregson come to find out about it in that case? That's the question, ain't it? But I'm just an apprentice, so... And why didn't he inform Scotland Yard of his findings? Yeah, that's what I was asking myself, because, you know, I'm just an apprentice. When it suits you, yes. Anyway, the point is, something went on at that club, no question. You can't say that for certain, though, surely.
Hold it! Hold it!
Lord Van Zieks was at the club. He was. Detectives who visited the club yesterday to make inquiries have confirmed it. Several members report having seen the accused being admitted to the room in question as a guest. It looks like there's no disputing he was there, then. Well, we know that Lord Van Zieks was investigating Inspector Gregson, don't we? Perhaps he'd already discovered the Inspector's secret notebook. Which led him to the club, you mean? Maybe. Presumably, then, there were also eyewitnesses who can testify that Gregson was there. None have been identified at this time, no. So the all-important victim wasn't seen at this mysterious club. Oi, why ain't you asking Inspector Lestrade here, eh? So that's all I've got to work with. Gina's not holding back with that ice-cold stare of hers, is she? I really don't know what to make of all this. Lord Van Zieks told us he was investigating Inspector Gregson when he never once mentioned that he met the inspector the day before the incident. You don't think Lord Van Zieks could have been lying to us, do you? It's not the only way to explain this. Oh. If everything Lord Van Zieks has told us is true, then there must be a mistake in this testimony somewhere. You mean there are details we've yet to uncover? Exactly. A clue, perhaps, that even Gina hasn't noticed. That's what we should be looking for here. Well, now that we found out the name, let me press her on this again to see if there's any change. And everything's the same so far. Everything's the same so far. Let's see what's going to happen at Gentleman's Club called the
question.
What?
Can you go and examine his box that had the paperwork to go to France? Because if he's supposed to follow orders, is that a passport document?
This one? This was the one that was in the box. Is that the one you're talking about?
Right, but was that an order for him to go, or is that just his paperwork to go? Because he should have... If he was supposed to follow orders, he should have went to France.
That's true, but didn't we just establish that he's not following orders, which is why he's doing an independent investigation?
I don't know.
Once again, though, I contradict you, but watch that be the actual, you know... First, can we look at this? What a charming little rabbity virgin of Mr. Sholmes. Do you suppose this is how Iris sees him? You are right, Mr. Naruhodo. Your eyes are veritably boring into the poor doll's ears. Oh, sorry, I was just wondering. What do you suppose would happen if I were to tug its ears with all my might right now? I'm sure that we'll find out when the time is right. To become a proper gentleman, you must really learn stoic patience. And I want to know... So... So we know the day before he had that passport. You want to try it?
Well, was the passport from the same one that was in the trunk?
Yeah, this was what was in the trunk.
Permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Purpose of travel, police business. Maybe.
Don't be yawning on me. We just started.
Objection!
Nope. Oh, let's see what the Strongheart says. Not one that any British court would recognize, Counsel. Well? Remember, this is a closed court. Whatever fate befalls you in here, no one outside will ever know. Should I be wondering if I'll make it out of this? This was a big job.
I want to know who the witnesses are.
Well, we don't know yet. Let's press the first one again, now that we have the other information. You follow orders, Gina? No, I'm above all that. Okay. Ends. Well, this was the day before the murder. So it would have to be October 31st, because the autopsy was for November 1st? Huh, doesn't actually say here. Oh yeah, because they can't do a time of death or anything like that, but still. If you're getting tired from laying down, you should probably sit up, hon.
Oh. What else you got?
That's it. Those are everythings.
I don't think it's that. That I'm kind of curious about.
Yeah. Unless there's something that proves the name called the Grouse, like it's not it. Because we're saying there's a mistake, so she's likely not lying about anything. There's supposed to be a mistake here. Somewhere. I don't remember any... Clint.
Is there something in his trunk besides that?
Pretty sure no. Just like shampoos and stuff. Here's that.
That's what you already had out of it?
Yeah. And the thing is, this stuff, it didn't add this description to the actual item. And this was already the passport. October 31st.
Wait, he did go?
Yeah, he did. But that wasn't the contradiction. Which makes sense, because no witnesses saw Gregson there. then who the heck was that one other person? Coppers weren't onto it yet. I mean, like, they added this testimony, but I'm not seeing the relevance yet. You know? Smuggled goods. Little search. All yard detectives. Okay, let me press run this again to see what's up. Grouse, what sort of club is that? Ain't got the foggiest. Clubs ain't my thing, but I am kind of curious. Foreign student like you. I got a few good marks.
Hold it!
What did she say here again? So how had Inspector Gregson come to find out? That's the question, but I'm just an apprentice. Yeah, that's what I was asking myself. I'm just an apprentice. I don't think it's the first, second, or fourth, because everything she says there is like a joke for the first, second, and fourth.
Hold it! Hold it!
And Lord Van Zieks was in the club. Lord Van Zieks was in the club. Well, we know that Lord Van Zieks was investigating Gregson. Presumably then... Well, hold up then. If they're saying the victim wasn't there, we have the passport, so we can say that Gregson wasn't there. Like they're saying no witnesses have come up, so maybe your idea with the passport's right. We gotta do it in the fifth one to say, well, it doesn't matter if witnesses saw him there, because Van Zieks wasn't there. I don't actually know if this is correct, but I'll try it.
Objection!
Nope. Music continues, so that's bad.
Had you better save?
Guess so. Whoops. So, all I got to work with, Gene is not holding back. But he never once mentioned that he met the inspector. You don't think Lord Van Zieks has been lying? If everything Lord Van Zieks said was true, then there must be a mistake in this testimony somewhere. You mean there are details we've yet to uncover? Exactly. A clue, perhaps, that even Gina hasn't noticed. That's what we should be looking for here.
Can we look at the notebook?
Nope, it's not in our evidence. Smuggled books, smuggled books.
Examine that other side.
What's this?
Yeah,
Again?
that's the date on it.
Looks like some sort of steamship ticket. The SS Grouse.
Haha!
The SS Grouse? Dude!
Objection!
Wow, go girl! I've read about these clubs that exist here in Britain. As I understand it, they're places where well-to-do gentlemen socialize with friends and colleagues. Don't imagine for a second that a foreign student like you would be admitted. Seriously, is your mirror cracked or something? Do we know for sure that the contraband dealings were definitely happening at a club called the Grouse? The police are currently looking for evidence, but haven't found anything definitive yet. And I'm sorry to say that they probably won't. What do you mean by that? I mean that the place Inspector Gregson was secretly going to visit on the 31st of October may not have been a gentleman's club at all. You're showing a very irreverent attitude toward our country's police force there, Counsel. If it wasn't a gentleman's club, then what was it? A steamship. You think it's a ship? I have the evidence to prove it here. Let me see that. This dark-suited young man is not in the least bit untrustworthy. Ah, the other side, my lord. Be more specific next time. This would appear to be a ticket for passage upon a steamship, yes. The SS Grouse.
Objection!
So there's a steamship named the Grouse that happens to share a name with the club. Well, I'm afraid to say there's a flaw in your logic here. How? Look at the ticket. Notice the date of arrival in port. The ship arrived at the port of Dover on November 1st. Ah, the day on which the sound like a gunshot was heard on Fresno Street. In other words, on the day in question here, the 31st of October, when the victim was on a clandestine mission, that ship hadn't yet docked on British shores. That would certainly make an undercover investigation somewhat challenging. The fact that the steamship hadn't yet reached Britain substantiates the defense's assertion that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the day in question. Then show your evidence for that assertion.
The passport.
Very well. That's right. In that case, counsel for the defense, present your evidence to the court now. Evidence that substantiates your claim that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse. So the passport comes into play, just not the way we thought.
Take that!
What's this? A passport for travel issued to the victim. Dated the 31st of October. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that just one day before the inspector's body was discovered...
The refrigerator's on the front of the...
Yeah, there's a distinct possibility he wasn't even in the country. Yeah, that's right. And they have refrigerators there. Order. This document is for passage to France. It does appear to have been officially authorized. The day before the SS Grouse arrived at Dover, it docked on the northern coast of France for a night. According to my father, who was on board at the port of Dunkirk. Dunkirk, France. What could possibly have taken the victim there? Ha 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 ha. I'm impressed, Rinosuke Naruhodo. I certainly didn't expect you to get your hands on that passport. What? You mean you knew about this? The prosecution strategy for this trial has been laid down by the Crown Prosecution Office. On the day before the incident, the victim was investigating contraband dealings at a London club. That's the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations and the line the prosecution has been asked to follow. But personally, I don't agree. I think the prosecutor's office is trying to hide something. What? And now that you've expertly disproven their assertion, I intend to reveal what I believe that something to be. What are you playing at, Prosecutor Asogi? A courtroom is a forum for the truth, my lord, which is why it's my duty to present all the facts without exception. Let me guess, this was your intention from the outset, was it? The reason Inspector Gregson secretly made his way to the steamship docked in France on the day in question was to carry out a mission for the Reaper. The Reaper? Order, what on earth are you saying, Counsel? The prosecution made an assertion in court yesterday. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed, as I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. But in reality, the truth is the opposite of that. What? Inspector Gregson wasn't investigating the Reaper at all. He was, in fact, acting for the Reaper. So you're saying the mission he was undertaking was, obviously, an assassination. Baroque von Zieks never carried out any of the actual killings. Whenever the Reaper's victims lost their lives, he always had a cast-iron alibi, which tells us that he must have had an accomplice. And you claim that was Inspector Gregson. What the hell did you think you're saying, eh? My boss would never have done nothing like that. And yet, when you consider all the facts, it all makes perfect sense. No, it can't be. We also arrived at the same conclusion, didn't we? That Inspector Gregson was operating as the Reaper. Even so, there's no way that the person giving him his orders was Lord Van Zieks. No, the true Reaper is somebody else. Baroque Van Zieks is not the Reaper. A predictable response from someone who's advocating for the man. And even if it's true that Gregson was operating as an agent of the Reaper, the suggestion that he went aboard the SS Grouse on an assassination mission doesn't follow at all. Oh, you have some solid reason for doubting the assertion, do you, Counsel? Absolutely, it's very simple. On the day in question, nobody was killed aboard that steamship. Professor Mikotoba and Judge Jigoku were on that very ship. If someone had been assassinated, I'm certain we would have heard about it. What's so funny? You're right, of course. No suspicious deaths were reported on board the ship. But I think perhaps you've missed the point. The precisely why Inspector Gregson himself lost his life. What? Gregson did board the SS Grouse that night with the intention of dispatching his mark, but his mission ended in failure. Failure? It seems that the defense hasn't yet grasped a very important detail here. What are you talking about? What detail? Inspector Gina Lestrade. What? The victim's notebook that you read an excerpt from earlier that doesn't contain details of secret investigations at all. It describes 10 years of assassination plots to be carried out by the Reaper of the Bailey. You're lying. Even if all them bludgers what got taken out had it coming. The boss weren't the Reaper. Poor Gina. There's no question that Tobias Gregson was heavily involved in the Reaper's activities. You may just be an apprentice, but if you spent any time at Scotland Yard, you must have heard rumors. I ain't heard nothing, and I don't believe a word of it. And testify again as a representative of Scotland Yard. Consider it your chance to defend your boss. I concur. The witness will give a new formal testimony. Miss Lestrade, you will tell the court everything you know about Inspector Gregson's secret notebook. You know, I feel so bad for her because she spent all of last game not trusting any adults. Here's someone she really trusts, and she's finding all this out. Like, I feel terrible for her.
Hopefully he's not
a
bad person.
I hope not either, because I really like G. She's one of my favorite characters in this. Yeah, this notebook does have a load of stuff about what the Reaper got up to these past 10 years. Names of victims, dates and places and stuff. The last entry in there was the 31st of October. It said grouse for the place on that date and the name of the mark. There was a note about him being a criminal what got away from the Reaper in court 10 years ago or summit. But honest, the boss didn't do none of it. He was just investigating the Reaper, that's all. Aww. Keep personal opinion out of your testimony, witness. We require only established fact here. This must be so hard for her. You can't deny it now, surely, Rinosuke Naruhodo. What can't I deny? The notebook contained the name of the final mark on the location where the assassination would take place. That's information the victim could only have known if he was working with the Reaper. So, who was to be this final mark? Go ahead, Inspector Lestrade. Read the name for the court.
Isn't it Assassin?
It's the name that's written alongside the entry that mentions the grouse on the 31st of October. How do you read this, then? Oh, yeah, this was the reading still not her strong
She's
suit.
been dead for a long time.
Yeah, that ain't the problem, alright, Odo? It's a funny name, it ain't English, it's hard to read. So it's someone from overseas. Let me have a bash at it. Seshiro, is it? Yeah, Seshiro. Jigokyu, maybe? What? It can't be. Seshiro Jigoku. But that's Judge Jigoku. Shishiro Jigoku. Certainly not an English name, you're right. But that can't be right. I know Judge Jigoku, and I saw him the day before yesterday here in London. So I know for a fact that the man hasn't been assassinated. As I said, the Reaper failed. Oh. Gregson missed his chance to kill his mark and return to British shores. But the Reaper wouldn't tolerate the mistake, so he killed the Inspector personally. The Reaper, of course, being the accused, Baroque Van Zeeks. It's an undeniably logical argument. Kazuma, you planned for the trial to go this way all along, didn't you? Who the?
Van Zeeks.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god, he's got it! Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice whilst I stand accused of murder. She's like right by him with that face. The accused has no right to speak uninvited in court. You will return to the dock. I say nothing of whether or not I'm the Reaper. That's the task of this court to decide. But there's one thing I can say unequivocally. That girl is no detective. What? Nah, that's right, I ain't. I'm an inspector. Repeating rumors heard around the yard, reading entries from a notebook of unconfirmed origin. That's not testimony, it's practically a script. No doubt the rest of this trial will go exactly as you've clearly planned. Your hatred of me is understandable. In your mind, I'm sure I am the Reaper. You sent your father to the gallows all those years ago. But you're in danger of becoming a far more sinister Reaper yourself, by attempting to have me condemned for this feeble excuse for testimony. What did you say? Listen, Naruhodo, this is our chance. My lord, the defense requests that the defendant be allowed to speak. He may be privy to important information relating to the testimony just given by the witness. Very well. Whoops, sorry. Very well, I'll make an exception and grant the request. See what I mean? Like, this is why I hope he's not the big bad, because he literally always is like, that's a good idea, young man. Like,
I don't know what's going on. There's a lot of stuff going on.
yeah. Like, I want to think he really doesn't know about this, because I want to like this guy so bad. I've just felt like he was, like, totally, I don't know, I felt like he was totally, like, our dude for a while. So, then allow me to toast the court's impartiality. Don't raise your glass in my direction, sir. Counsel for the defense, begin the cross-examination immediately. At once, my lord. Yeah, this notebook does have loads of stuff and what the Reaper got up to these past 10 years. Names of victims, Ted Grouse. There's no him being a criminal who got away from the Reaper in court. Let's do this one, because I wonder if he'll have a reaction to this about the Professor case. What do you mean a criminal? Judge Jigoku is no criminal. Well, don't ask me, I don't know nothing about it. Oh, do you remember what Father told us? That Judge Jigoku did once appear in court here in Britain. It was related to the Professor case, I'm sure. Yes, of course, you're right. See, Shiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and actually managed to break the witness stand. He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged. It was a pitiful situation, yes. I'd forgotten all about it, but I prosecuted that trial too, as it happens. You did? It was considered to be an adjunct to the professor proceedings, you see, but he was acquitted after being told to make reparation for the damage caused to the stand. And there you have it. Have what? Surely the accused hasn't forgotten his own rule. There's no saving anyone who faces the Reaper in court, guilty or innocent alike. What? No. Are you suggesting that the reason Judge Jigoku was targeted for assassination? The man was sent back to Japan immediately after that trial. The Reaper had no time to do his work. But then, 10 years later, the mark returns to Britain once more. Perhaps now you start to see just how vindictive the Reaper is. Come on, that's absurd. To take someone's life for that? Isn't the whole premise of the Reaper absurd, killing those who have been found innocent? So wait, what's the premise?
That immediately after he was found guilty of breaking the stand, they said, okay, you pay your damage back. They sent him back to Japan. So he's saying that he got away.
But then he's coming back to Britain, and now he's marked, because... Clearly the rules by which the man operates are beyond a sane person's comprehension. But... So you have complete faith that Inspector Gregson is innocent in all of this? Of course I do. I mean, I owe him that, don't I? Because he's the only one what had faith in me. Oh. The boss promised me he did. He promised me that even though I was just a diver, he could turn me into a top-notch detective. A cove with a good heart like that ain't gonna go and rob people of their futures, is he? Every single person killed by the Reaper was a criminal of the First Order. Lowlifes like that have no compunction about robbing hundreds of others of their futures. Eh? Their ludicrous acquittals in court give them the freedom to make hundreds more suffer. I don't... So what, you justified your actions because you were protecting innocent people's future? I'm not suggesting the Reaper's methods are justified at all, but life isn't black and white, that's all I'm saying. So that's what we have to work with. It may help us that Lord Van Zieks is in the stand, too. Yes, perhaps. I'm sure Gina knows nothing she hasn't already told us. There's no point trying to get more out of her. Did you notice how Kazuma-sama reacted to Lord Van Zieks' words? When he called him an even more sinister Reaper, you mean? Well, I'm sure Kazuma intends to eliminate any shred of doubt that the man is guilty. He's looking for revenge against the person he considers to be his father's killer, after all. I do worry that if we fail to find a discrepancy in this testimony somewhere, the trial may end and adjudication won't go in our favor. Let's listen carefully again to what everybody is saying.
Hold it! Hold it!
In other words, it shows that Gregson was basically acting as the Reaper. Not you and all. That ain't the only explanation, is it? He could have been investigating the Reaper in secret, and that notebook said what he found out. If I may, when originally people began referring to me as the Reaper, I didn't object. I believed the power to intimidate London's criminal classes into compliance with the law to be beneficial. But you carried out your own investigations into the true identity of the Reaper, didn't you? Yes, and those investigations proved conclusively that Gregson was one arm of the Reaper. One arm? What are you on about? The Reaper's victims were all extremely shrewd criminals at the top of their game. There's simply no way one person could have taken them on alone. The Reaper is an organization, with you as its head, keeping me abreast of Gregson's movements, letting me know. So I've been able to check the most recent entry in his book. I knew the location. You knew it said grouse. Really? At spies at the yard. Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I went there on the day in question to investigate alone. Ah, so that explains why several members of the club claim to have seen you there. But of course the inspector was not there, because at the time he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. Very well, then, back to your testimony about the contents of this notebook. Fine. Something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo.
You seemed a little shocked by something a moment ago. Oh no, it's alright. I'm overthinking this, aren't I?
Hold it! Hold it!
Names of victims, dates, places, and stuff. What in particular? Well, beside the victims' names, this other name kept cropping up.
Asa Shin, right?
Yeah, what other name was that? It's the one I told you yesterday, the same name written over and over again. You mean Asa Shin? Yeah, that's the one. She's a friend of yours, Summit, isn't she? Were you even listening yesterday? Asa Shin. The assassin. What? Like, a killer, you mean? Gretchen was the tactician, the one who came up with the plan of attack. He investigated the marks thoroughly, finding out when they would be vulnerable and who to use to get at them. But the person actually executing his plans was someone else, you're saying? If that's true, then the Reaper does indeed start to sound like an organized group of vigilantes. Ah, then perhaps what it said on the passport document. Permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Could that additional person have been clearly the assassin who was meant to take Shishiro Jigoku's life? Gina, can you confirm that against the final entry that listed Grouse and Shishiro Jigoku? What name was written? Oh, well, that's the only entry that didn't have a name next to it as it happens. What? It just added like a question mark or something there, I think. In other words, Gretchen himself didn't know the identity of the assassin in that case. But Gretchen was the one making the plans, was he not? Oh, how infuriating. A nameless assassin. So guess from mark on the day and the name of the mark. And you're saying that the mark listed was Shishiro Jigoku. That's what it said. Funny name if you ask me. And I thought your name was odd. So pleased to have lost my crown there. Mr. Jigoku is the presiding judge of Japan's Supreme Court of Judicature. I remember the man. He came to our country as a visiting student 16 years ago, studying international law and diplomacy under your tutelage, Lord Strongheart. That bearded young fellow was a very able man, I must say. So Lord Strongheart was Judge Jigoku's mentor. If I'm not mistaken, he returned to Japan 10 years ago now. 10 years ago, after that fateful case. Precisely. In the aftermath of the professor cases, repatriation was organized immediately. It's a mystery why such a man would be listed in the inspector's notebook. I didn't think it was possible, but the mood in here has got even worse now. Right, I've just had about enough of this. Gina? All this nonsense about the boss plan to kill people, it's cobblers. Come on, Odo. Yes? Why ain't you saying nothing? Why ain't you yelling out objection or something? What? You've got to find a flaw, you do usually. Someone's lying here, no question. You've got to work out who it is. Please, for the boss. That outburst was an insult to the court and to your own testimony. I might have known that a common pickpocket from the back slums couldn't make a detective. When this trial is over, you will forfeit your warrant card, Miss Lestrade. Is that clear? I've had it with a lot of you. It lies every bleeding place you look in this world, isn't it? Well, I've had enough. So have I. After the little speech of Gina's, I've made up my mind. To do what, Mr. Naruhodo? There was one point in this cross-examination when something that was said just didn't sit right with me. One statement that seemed odd. Oh, do you mean... I'm not going to let Gina's plea for help fall on deaf ears. Aww.
The question mark thing.
Well, I thought it was this one because he seemed puzzled. But I don't know, let me... And I went to Allegro, too. I want to thank you, Gina. You helped me find my resolve. Eh? What do you mean? Amongst everything we've heard during this cross-examination, there's one thing that defies explanation, one inconsistency. What, an inconsistency? Really, Odo? I don't quite know what it means yet, but... Yes, there's an inconsistency in something that was said by... Ooh. I don't know! I can't go back!
We don't want it to be her. Wouldn't you want it to be Cosima?
Yeah, Cosima or Strongheart or Van Zieks, as far as something that...
We don't want to contradict really Van Zieks either, right?
Yeah, but an inconsistency doesn't mean that they're lying. Oh god, let's just go with Kazuma. By you, Kazuma Asogi. Me? Is this some attempt at filibustering, Counsel? Prosecutor Asogi has given no testimony. What are you suggesting I said that was inconsistent? You let something slip that you shouldn't have. When I present the relevant piece of evidence, I imagine you'll realize what you've done. Very well, Counsel, go ahead. What evidence reveals this alleged inconsistency in something Prosecutor Asogi has said? I wish I would have went back to that first thing again. Remember when he said, oh, where she goes, oh, you seem puzzled by something? And he goes, no, I think I'm overthinking this. It was something there.
What was that in reference to?
I don't know. I didn't get a chance to go to it again.
You've kind of flipped through the things so fast.
I didn't flip through the thing. I just wanted to see if she gave us any more info for the fifth statement. I didn't know that was the one where I'd have to be doing this. Oh boy.
Is the notebook entered into...
No, it's not, hun.
Go back to what he said.
But it's too far up, I think.
No.
See? It just starts with her saying objection.
Okay, we'll go through until it says Asogi.
Yeah, see? I got nothing.
I couldn't see that.
Well, no, there was nothing there. A sec. Oh my god, it just auto-saved here.
Where did you auto-save?
It just auto-saved now! Oh my god, okay, Oh, wait a minute, I have an idea.
What's that?
I think on our stream, I can go backwards already, even though it's streaming live, and I can look at that testimony again.
Why you're doing that?
You're gonna look at stuff?
How do I look at it?
Okay. Do not press triangle ever.
Okay.
Okay. But you're gonna go left and right, and then you can press X to examine stuff. Okay. Okay, so this was the first one again. So, this is so
In other
meta.
words, it shows that Gretchen was basically acting as the Reaper. Not you and all. That ain't the only explanation, is it? We could have been investigating the Reaper in secret, and that notebook said what he found out. If I may, when originally people began referring to me as the Reaper, I didn't object. I believe the power to intimidate London's criminal classes is compliance with the law to be beneficial. You carried out your own investigation into the true identity of the Reaper, didn't you? Yes, and those investigations proved conclusively that Gretchen was one arm of the Reaper. One arm? What are you on about? The Reaper's victims were all extremely shrewd criminals at the top of the game. There's simply no way one person could have taken them all alone. The Reaper is an organization, with you as its head. Keeping me abreast of Gregson's movements, let me know. So I've been able to check the most recent entry in his book. I knew the location. You knew it said grounds. Well, had spies of the eye. Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I went there on the day in question to investigate alone. Ah, so that explains why several members of the club claimed to have seen me there. But of course the inspector was not there, because at the time he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk.
He should have known about that metal trunk,
Very well then.
right?
Your testimony-
Oh, no, wait. You did the...
Fine. Something promising, Naruto. You seemed a little shocked by something a moment ago. Oh no, it's alright. I'm overthinking this, aren't I?
Okay.
You can try it.
Because I don't think we ever said that it came from the metal trunk.
Right.
It was removed from the scene.
Take that!
This is a trunk that belonged to Inspector Gregson. A metal construction, is it? It's certainly very heavy. What's this? A blood stain, and a relatively fresh one, too. What? You mean that ain't grease from all the boss's fish and chips? Fresh blood on the inspector's trunk. That suggests that the victim was traveling with that luggage when he was killed. That can't be. There was no mention of any trunk in Scotland Yard's report. Yes, there's a reason for that. Immediately after the inspector's body was discovered, one of the street peddlers made off with the trunk, hoping to sell it. But I found it, with me nose for trouble. Which means that nobody should have known anything about the trunk. Unless, of course, we're talking about somebody who was present when the victim was killed. And yet, during the cross-examination of the witness just now, you said this, Kazuma. Because at the time he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. So the question is, how did you know about the inspector's trunk? We know the man went on a trip to France. Where else would he have put his passport? But you knew it was a metal trunk. Answer me honestly, Kazuma. On the 31st of October, where exactly were you? At the port of Dunkirk on board the SS Grouse. Is that the answer you're looking for, Inosuke? Kazuma, what did you... What? I hadn't considered the possibility before, but if Kazuma was on the ship, then it could only have been for one purpose. Oh no, Mr. Naruhodo, surely you don't think. Ha 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 ha. Come on, Inosuke, you know the rules. The only thing that really talks in the courtroom is hard evidence. As I understand it, Inspector Gregson always took that case with him when he traveled. So as it stands, you've proved nothing. Kazuma, are you challenging me to prove it beyond all reasonable doubt that you were there that day in the same place as the inspector? He was there with Gregson? There's a clue that you've overlooked, a secret that Trunk can tell us. I can't be sure at this point. I'll need to verify it. But I have a nasty feeling that I'm going to be right. The accusation being made is deeply disturbing, but nevertheless, we must test it. The defense will identify for the court where in the trunk this alleged clue is to be found.
The blade.
Yeah.
Where in this trunk that ties Professor Asogi to Inspector Gregson? Are we supposed to open the trunk? But if I try to open it, will that be considered me saying it's there?
I think it's the slash mark.
You've seen this huge gash across the side of the trunk here? It's gone right through the letter into the metal. Oh, okay, wait. So I think we can open it? I think it's that little blade you saw. Bless you. Okay, so we'll let you press X to examine. So let's examine it one more time. Do you see that? There's something stuck in the trunk there. It's glinting. Looks like a fragment of metal of some sort, but it's wedged in so tightly I can't remove it. Well, don't cut yourself. You'd better leave it, I think. I think it's that.
Got it!
There's a small piece of metal lodged in the wall of the trunk here, like the tip of a blade. Yeah, a blade. Kazuma, slung around your waist as ever today, is the esteemed blade Kuruma. Of course it is. Won't you draw it here in the courtroom for all to see? Exercise caution, my learned friend. That man is the son of London's most notorious killer. Bailiff, watch Prosecutor Asogi like a hawk. That won't be necessary. Oh! Oh no. The tip is broken. If the fragment of metal from the trunk fits together with the end of the sword, the question of who was there when Inspector Gregson will be answered. Agreed, Kazuma Asogi? Expertly done, Rinosuke. That's a point to you and well deserved. Do you mean to tell the court, Prosecutor Asogi? Yes, on the 31st of October I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. So the additional person authorized to travel was me. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. What? Yo, okay, I didn't see any of this. You mean you're the killer whose name was omitted from this notebook? You were following the Reaper's orders to dispatch Judge Shigoku. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I've killed no one. Explain. I accepted the assassination mission, yes, and I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk, but I never had any intention of carrying out the plan. I can believe that. You were never going to do it. We can believe Kazuma-sama, I'm sure. After all, Judge Shigoku arrived safely in London the following day. On the 31st, I boarded the train from London with Inspector Gregson. We traveled to Dover, from where we crossed the Channel to Dunkirk. Then we boarded the SS Grouse and made for the cabin deck as indicated in the plan. You went to Judge Shigoku's cabin? Exactly. He wasn't there, though. We decided to wait, but you've already told us you had no intention of going through with it anyway. I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life, so I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent the night at a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following morning. Boarding house in Dunkirk. My signature will be in the register book. It would be simple enough to verify. Then what became of Shigoku? Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. I'm sure it's easy enough to imagine what happened after that. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete the mission. He met with the Reaper in that room on Fresno Street to report the failure, causing the infuriated mastermind to pull the trigger and end his wretched agent's life. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson's murder. But if you did nothing as you claim, how did the tip of your sword come to be lodged in the inspector's trunk? Indeed. I don't need to answer that. The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of a Japanese blade is irrelevant to the case, and accordingly I choose to exercise my right to silence on that matter.
You needed something out of it.
Be that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence. As you wish, my lord. Boy, I didn't see... Look, even if he's totally clean, I didn't see any of this involvement.
It had crossed
Coming.
my mind, but then again, I thought that Strongheart also carries a sword. That he may have opened it. Like, it crossed my mind as both of them, but...
But the thing is, he's not saying it's not mine. He's just saying I plead the fifth,
Yeah.
which I wonder
He's
about.
not saying why he went there.
Yeah. So the only person I feel I can really trust right now is Van Zieks and Susato, Gina and Iris, and Sholmes. I
They're all
don't think...
doing bad things, though. She lifted his case. Iris stole the autopsy report. Susato.
Well, she stole the autopsy report, but I don't know. Well, Susato, what's she do? She reads books and helps us.
Baskerville's case, which she shouldn't have.
And we still don't know what that's all about, right? God, this is so crazy interesting. We must take immediate action now to verify whether Shishiro Jigoku remains unharmed. Yeah, we haven't seen him since. Remains unharmed. I agree, that should be our first priority. It's recently come to my attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday. How did you... When a foreign dignitary invited to Great Britain goes missing for 24 hours, it's only natural that the question of his safety should arise. You don't mean to say that you think Judge Jigoku may have been killed. The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal, and he has the power and influence to give orders from the inside of a prison cell. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zieks? If I were truly the Reaper, I'd be able to tell you. Order in the court. We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes. Now, guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. If the man can't be located within half an hour, we will have to assume the worst. Oh no, not Judge Jigoku. No one would want to kill a harmless Japanese man who'd only just arrived in the country. Except, that is, for the Reaper wanting to finish off a mark that slipped through the net 10 years ago. I would have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake, my lord, I sincerely hope we are successful. If we're unable to confirm Mr. Jigoku's healthy existence in the next 30 minutes, you will face grave difficulties. Court is adjourned for 30 minutes. Yo, I thought we were going to go just... Kazuma-sama, the Reaper's assassin. I feel as though I'm in a nightmare. I can hardly believe it either, but on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories. I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. If something awful has happened to Judge Jigoku, then I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control. I felt it from the moment I stepped into the courthouse this morning. That strange sensation that we were careering toward a foregone conclusion. Well, in the worst case, we might only have 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do but wait now. We're out of options. Actually, there may be one last hand we can play. Or rather, one last ear. Of course! The little Mr. Sholmes doll that Iris gave us. Maybe Jigoku's in there! I know, he's too big. Iris could fit. Perhaps now is the time. What should I do? Pull Hurley's ears or not?
Pull it.
Here goes, then. I'm going to do it.
There's not like one of her bombs in there.
Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo. No looking back. Heave! Ow! That scream sounds like Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes? Is that a voodoo doll? Here, my dear fellow, here. It's the felt doll talking. Oh, God. Pull the ears again, Mr. Naruhodo, as hard as you can. Alright, then. I'll put all my strength into it. Heave! Ow. Please, my dear fellows, you don't need to pull my ear off. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Myself and my trusty partner. Oh dear. Are presently in the...
Walkie-talkie?
in the first-class cabin in the SS Grouse. Yes, looks like. The SS Grouse? Did those things exist then? She left Dover last night after the final pieces of cargo were loaded. We are currently docked in Dunkirk, but due to be underway again in half an hour. You've taken a ship to France? Please, even with my athletic prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried by cab to the station and by train to the port, in order to board this vessel in time. So you mean you've already worked it out, that the steamship was where everything really took place? Mr. Naruhodo, pray, what is my name? Sherlock Sholmes, world-famous great detective. Recited to perfection, well done. You're a genius, Mr. Sholmes. That's the only word for it. Ow, 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 ow. Miss Susato, gently with this genius's ears, please. Oh my, I'm ever so sorry. If I may, Sholmes. Ah, there you are, Mikotoba. You may remember that it was in fact I who made the connection to the SS Grouse. At Scotland Yard yesterday when we examined that notebook and I recalled my steamship ticket. Ah ha ha, but of course it was, my dear fellow. And not once did I controvert that fact. I merely had our court-bound companions utter my name. Yes, you did, didn't you? We've just entered a recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now. If we're unable to present any new leads, then I'm afraid to say... Do not fret, please. It's for precisely that purpose that my partner and I have made this journey. I have no doubt we shall have welcome news for you within the half hour. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That would be wonderful. Till then, yes, you'll be hearing from us.
What the heck? If you pull it, it pulls on that? What?
I shan't be hearing anything if you keep tugging my ear in that mindless fashion. Whatever was the idea behind making your receiver operated in that way in the first place, Sholmes? Why the deuce would I know? It's Iris's invention, not mine.
Okay, at least Iris is just being weird with that, but I can accept that Iris made this if they didn't exist then, just because they made fingerprint analysis, like, there's some
It's
history.
called a receiver, so I think she's made like a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, of sorts. Whilst I know how much you enjoy being the hero of the hour, Sholmes, we have but half the hour before the Grouse puts to sea again. If we don't conclude our investigations rapidly, we shall find ourselves in Naples before long. There are times, Mikotoba, when you make a surprising amount of sense.
I know what's going to happen. This is in the first person. We're going to investigate. That's Mikotoba.
Okay.
First class cabin number 2. Yes, this is the one. But I don't believe an investigation of the cabin is going to be plain sailing.
So we're doing an investigation even though we're not leaving the courtroom. That's actually pretty cool.
That crewman standing in front of the door is an angry-looking fellow. Why are you loitering here? Who are you? My dear fellow, do you not recognize a world-famous great detective when you see one? The question really ought to be, who are you? Do you not recognize world-traveling great sailor Cheech Sven Stroganoff when you see... Great detective? Ha, I don't think so. Oh my god, he has Sholmes on his arm. Do you see that, Mikotoba? It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine. Goodness me, is that a tattoo that says Sholmes? I must say, while such adoration is flattering, naturally, it does leave me a little cold. What are you talking about? Leave now. How distressing. My loyal devotee knows me only by name and not by appearance. And yet I already know a great deal about you, sir. You have a brother, I believe. Like yourself, he's a shipman, currently traveling the world aboard a Russian steamship, in fact. How could you know this? Elementary, my dear Mikotoba. I'm sure it was. 3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard this ship, you see. We're looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jigoku. There is no one with this name on board, but we know that he purchased a ticket for passage. Ah, you mean Eastern Man. He left ship 2 hours ago. Here at Dunkirk, he said something about emergency, I think. What? Are you sure? So Shishiro's realized that we're after him, has he? His cabin is the one behind you. We should like to investigate, please. No, I have orders not to even let Mouse inside. Mikotoba, be a good man and draw the sailor's attention away, would you? Make up some excuse so that he leaves the area. Doesn't Great Detective see that even sailors have ears both left and right?
You idiot! And you have only yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Sholmes.
Forget it, cabin door is locked. Even if I am not here, you cannot get inside. Mikotoba, I'm sure you haven't forgotten my special talent, have you? Opening any lock? Within a mere 5 seconds. So if you'd be so kind as to afford me the requisite time, old friend, in your typically accommodating manner, how could I refuse such a typically unappealing request, old friend? So I need to distract this burly sailor for 5 seconds, do I? Good man. So, the game is afoot. This must be a mousetrap, I think. Perhaps I could distract the crewman's attention with this somehow. Let's leave it alone. No, I think not. That would surely never work. I need to concoct another distraction. We have this. This would appear to be an alarm bell. All hell would break loose if that thing were to ring. The whole crew would know about it. No, I think not. That would never work. Let's look at what the distractions could be, basically. The switch for the electrical lights. Perhaps if I were to turn off the lights, the crewman wouldn't be able to see what we were doing. No. That's a speaking tube for members of the crew to communicate. If I could just persuade our stocky sailor friend that he needed to use it. Sholmes could unlock the door whilst he was distracted. The question is, how?
Is there another one somewhere else that you could talk into?
Possibly. It's the way back to the deck. Empty as well. I had a quick look inside earlier, though I confess I didn't investigate the wardrobe. There may very well be a young Japanese fellow inside, perspiring merrily. If you're referring to Naruhodo, you know very well that he's currently perspiring merrily in court. To not strike you, though, Mikotoba, why the man stands guard only in front of this cabin when both are apparently vacant? That's true.
Oh, can I go to the vent? Can't go in there.
I don't think so. No. Okay, so let's see.
I think the light.
Yeah, let's do the light. Ah, what is happening? Where's light? Now Sholmes, now. Oh, nobody there. That was a close shave. Quite an act you have, stumbling so violently in an apparently empty corridor. Do be quiet, Sholmes. I shall have to think of another approach. Okay, well. So apparently, I could persuade our friend that he needed to use it. Maybe I gotta get myself caught in the mousetrap, because I don't know if it would be the alarm. Choo-choo! That sounds like Big Mouse and Trap. Choo-choo! I will bring bucket of water later and put out of misery. I don't like the sound of that. In any case, my dear fellow, that was quite unconvincing. Only Japanese mice make a choo sound. Oh, really, Sholmes? And pray tell, what sound do Russian mice make? PP, naturally. Though also quite unconvincing, I readily admit. So go ahead, Mikotoba, do a PP this time. So it's the alarm? Here we go then, pardon me in advance. You, what are you doing? If we were at sea, that would be a very bad problem. What's going on there? Seaman Stroganoff, report at once. Sorry, sir, nothing to report. It was just a stupid trick. No, not by me, by world-famous... No, as I told you. Now, Sholmes, now. Done. Not even 5 seconds, eh? Well, don't stand there gawping at my brilliance, Mikotoba. In we go. Oh, yes. is. Oh, we got stuff to look at, but I guess maybe we can do it next time?
Yeah.
It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly. Those clothes on the floor there, they're Shishiro's without question. Well, it seems we are just a little too late. Yes, by about 2 hours. Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may be 2 hours worth of clues to find in here, but the burly Kuben may return at any moment, Sholmes. Indeed he may, which makes this all the more thrilling.
Good job.
Boy, this...
Go me along and
Well, yes, but I'm quite interested. I want to keep playing. We can't, but I do, so good for the game. Alright, until next time, thank you for watching.